Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to break down the settings for the Forex EA. Let's start off at the top. You're going to input your license key here, of course, and set your magic numbers. The magic numbers basically differentiate you from other traders, so it's important to utilize something that is personal to you. It could be your birthday or something of that nature. Now we've got the risk management category here. Type of risk is currently set to percentage, and my percentage is currently set to 2. So that means the EA will take trades based on 2% risk of my account balance. You can also click the drop-down menu and turn this to fixed amount. If that's the case, all you'd have to do is type in a fixed dollar amount here instead of a percentage amount. Max trades per day, mine is currently set to 0. If you would, for example, set this to 1 or 2, the EA would take that amount of trades and then nothing past that. This is really good if you want to limit your risk exposure. Next up, we have maximum daily drawdown. This is a very important setting if you're trading with prop firms. So what I would recommend is for you to go to your prop firm and check the rules that they have in terms of maximum daily drawdown. And I would set this to a percentage slightly less than that. That way you ensure that you'll never blow your account based on violating the daily drawdown rule. Next up, we have the core strategy settings. So the trade mode is currently set to market Fibonacci. If you click the drop-down menu, you're going to see two other settings here. The pending fib is the original coding we had for this EA. This is when the EA will basically set a pending limit order at the Fibonacci level of your choosing. Now recently we've made an update to include market execution at the Fibonacci level or market execution at a fair value gap. Now these two settings have greatly improved the performance of the EA because when price reaches the Fibonacci or a fair value gap, the EA will now closely monitor for a rejection from that area. So rather than setting a pending limit order and hoping that it holds, we now have active monitoring at that level. So if you have either of these chosen, you're not going to see pending limit orders set in advance. You're only going to see an order once you're actively involved in the trade because a market execution happens in real time. We then have the retracement level. You can set this to whatever you'd like. Mine is typically always set to 71. That's what I like to do. We then have an imbalance filter. If this is set to true, the trade will only occur if your Fibonacci level aligns with an imbalance or fair value gap. The next setting, add buffer to fair value gap by a certain amount of points, that will only work if this setting is set to true. So mine is currently set to false. The imbalance filter is not currently on. So this add buffer is irrelevant. Next up, we have a premium and discount filter. So it says trade only if the trade aligns with higher time frame. It's currently set to false, but if you set it to true and then go down to the premium and discount time frame, you can click the drop down and there's a lot of time frames to choose from. If you're going to use this, I would recommend setting it to the daily time frame. This is basically a way to ensure that your execution time frame is aligned with a higher time frame so that the EA is trading alongside the existing trend. We then have a liquidity filter. So if this filter is set to true, the EA will only place trades if there has been a liquidity sweep in the recent history. Now you can adjust that recent history here by typing in a certain amount of bars. Next up, we have the trade settings. Increase stop loss base. So this setting kind of correlates to the minimum stop loss right underneath. Mine is currently set to 20. I feel like that's a good default for the 4-hour style of trading. Now, if you, for example, added 2 pips as a buffer, you would essentially have a 22 pip stop loss. And what this buffer would do is instead of having your stop loss placed right at the high or the low of the current Fibonacci range, it would add another couple pips above that to accommodate for spread. Next up, we have take profit mode. This is currently set to fib extension. We also have risk reward. Fib extension is basically, it's going to set the take profit and stop loss based on the Fibonacci range on the chart. If you set it to risk to reward, then you can utilize these following two settings. Close 50% at reward factor or close 100% at reward factor. The 50% is just an option for people who like to take partial profits. But if you want to disregard that and set a fixed risk reward and have that trade closed 100% at that risk reward, then you can use this setting right here. Next up, we have a break-even filter. I personally have mine set to true, and this is a really personal setting. Not everybody needs to use this. Not everybody wants to use it, but I keep mine set to true and I keep the reward factor at 1.5 R. So basically, as soon as my trade reaches 1.5 R in profit, the EA will automatically move my stop loss to break even, essentially eliminating my risk. So if it goes against me, I don't lose anything, I don't gain anything, and I let the EA move on to the next trading opportunity. Now scrolling down a bit more to the rest of the settings, we've got some filter settings here. We have a spread filter and a slippage filter. So these two can be customized to your liking. And basically this is a way to accommodate for spread increases during major news events or the market rollover period. We then have a bunch of options for starting and stopping trade times or turning on and off specific days. So if you know that there's a lot of news events on one specific day, for example, you could turn off that day. Like let's say we turn off Wednesday. That means the EA is going to trade Monday, Tuesday, it's going to be completely off on Wednesday, and then continue trading on Thursday and Friday. So that's one thing you can do to mitigate risk. A lot of people don't like to keep the EA on during news events, and that's totally understandable. Now, the time filter here, that can be adjusted so that the EA avoids the market rollover period or avoids the market open at the start of a new trading week. So you can customize these to your liking. Next up, we've just got some basic chart settings here. We recently enabled dark mode. So if you set that to true, you'll see the colors change on your chart. I'd also recommend changing your MetaTrader 5 terminal settings to match with that dark mode. It looks really cool. Next up, we've got some advanced settings, and there's a little warning here that says proceed with caution, because these are basically the strategy settings that we don't really want people to mess with. However, we're giving you the option to do so if you're a more experienced trader and you want to test things out for yourself. So we've got some market structure settings: fractal left bars, fractal right bars, premium and discount left bars, premium and discount right bars. So these are the market structure settings that determine the Fibonacci range and the pivot points within price. Next up, we have an ADX filter with some adjustable settings as well. If you don't know what ADX is, I would recommend just quickly Googling that. I'm trying to keep this video short and sweet, so I'm not going to dive into that. We also have volume profile settings. So this has been something that we've implemented into the EA that has been very beneficial. And basically the volume profile is, let's just take a look at the current range over here. Not the prettiest range, but it'll allow me to demonstrate. The EA is gauging the volume within this entire range, and it's locating the point of control. So the point of the most volume, the highest volume, the most contested area within the range. And we've determined that if this point of control is very close to the Fibonacci level, there's a high probability of having a reaction from the Fibonacci level. So currently the setting is set to 10 pips, which means the point of control line has to be within 10 pips above or below the Fibonacci level. You can adjust this to less if you'd like, but we have it by default set to 10 pips for the 4-hour style of trading. For the 15-minute style of trading, we do have smaller, tighter settings. This is a really good confluence to have, and it's helping the EA perform really, really well, so I would recommend leaving it on. Now, last but not least, we have market fib level cross signal and market fib level wick signal. I'm going to try not to get into the weeds too much here, but we have the wick signal set to true. We currently have the cross signal set to false. So the wick signal is basically, it's correlating with the trade mode set up here. So either market fib or market fair value gap. This is monitoring the way that price rejects from those areas. So currently we have this set to true, and that means that we're waiting for price to wick out of the area. So price will trade into the Fibonacci range and then start rejecting from it and create a wick showing that rejection. So one thing I want to clarify before I end this video is that we've recently opened up a lot of these settings. This might look pretty overwhelming to you at first. There's a lot of things to consider. However, the only things that you really need to look at are the risk settings near the top. You should be personalizing these to your own preferences, but as you get further down the list, these are settings that you shouldn't really be messing with unless you're an experienced trader and want to perform your own back testing or forward testing. The main reason we've opened this up is that so we can play with the settings ourselves and create customized set files to share with you all. When we do so, all you'd have to do is click the load button and load that customized set file, and you'd see all of these settings change automatically. For us, it's a lot easier to create customized set files rather than pushing a full EA update that everybody has to reinstall. So as we continue to do further testing and brainstorming ways to make this EA the best performing thing on the market, we'll have an easier time configuring these settings into customized set files and releasing them to all of you. I hope that cleared things up. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the support channel, and I'll talk to you all soon.